Hello everybody, hello again, after about a week I think. This is just going to be a pretty quick video in relation to language learning resources and what I use and how I go about doing my study in the beginning. I made a video in Italian a couple weeks ago I think about resources, and I mentioned that for those of you who don't speak Italian, I mentioned using certain books and children's books and things like that, and a lot of input based activities such as reading and listening a lot. So I had a few Italian children's books. I might have briefly talked about Hungarian as well, where I'm still in the beginner stage, where I use certain books, and I think I mentioned Teach Yourself. I use Teach Yourself for a lot of languages that I learn. Usually all the languages that I learn. So okay, let's start off with the resources that I use. So for Hungarian, when I first started, I bought myself a Pimsleur. Now, a Pimsleur Hungarian. Now, Pimsleur is interesting. It's very different to Teach Yourself. Pimsleur works on the idea of listening a little bit. So you're given some information, a very small sort of, what's it called, dialogues, not very lengthy ones, and you're quickly taught the vocab in those dialogues, and you're taught not just to passively learn it, but to be able to actively use it, so reproduce it in a short amount of time. So you're given little bits of information to understand, and then you quickly have to come back and use it. This is good in the sense, Pimsleur is good in a way that it gets you talking straight away. It gets you confident with speaking and getting you using these words that you learn, which is great in a way, because if that's what you want to do, you want to speak when you learn a foreign language. It's good to get you talking, because most people don't have the confidence to talk. However, I think, and I used Hungarian Pimsleur, I think it's too limited. I didn't use all of them. I used sorry, just getting closer to the camera. Yeah, I used Pimsleur, probably the first and the second ones, and they were. I think it was good. It helped me. It got me started with Hungarian, a language which I knew nothing about. I had this little dialogue, and I quickly learned to understand this dialogue very quickly, and use the vocab that I was taught. I was able to do it. It works in the sense that it has the vocab. It teaches you the few words. You will forget them. That's normal. You will forget them the first time. You forget them the second, and then just as you're about to forget it again, it comes up with information again. And you're like, oh, that's it. So that helps you remember it. So you hear it. It's repetition, and you have to quickly come back as quick as you can and reproduce it. I just don't think that there's enough words, there's enough vocab, and there's not enough proper dialogues on Pimsleur to really understand the language properly. You definitely won't be fluent with Pimsleur, but I think it's a great way to start if you're interested in speaking straight away, which I was. I sort of take the philosophy that you should start speaking, well, yeah, I like to start speaking straight away and using the language, otherwise it just gets harder and harder. And you need the confidence. You need to get used to speaking it in order to be confident with speaking. But I believe a bit more in understanding the language and input and reading and listening. You need this so much. So it's both, but you really need a lot of dialogue. Get used to the way native speakers talk, the speed, the vocab that they use. You need to hear this, and I don't think Pimsleur offers this. But it's definitely a good way to go in the beginning to start, and so I did that, and then I got myself a Teach Yourself. I had my Teach Yourself already, then I went back to it. Excuse me, that was embarrassing. So this is Teach Yourself. Sorry, let me get it straight in the camera. Teach Yourself Hungarian. Uh, it's a great book. Um, it's very. I love the layout of Teach Yourself. I think this is a very good one. Hungarian it's a very good one. The layout is fantastic, and it's got a lot of vocab and all the grammar that you need without over complicating the grammar. So that's a good book. Teach Yourself Hungarian. It's a good series. The only downside is they really do speak very fast, and their justification for this is that they're trying to get you used to the way Hungarians really talk, which is good. It might be a little bit intimidating for the beginner, so use Pimsleur as well, use them at the same time, or use Asimil. I recently, maybe a couple months ago, I got Asimil, Hungarian with Ease. Asimil is a French company. They offer many different, what's it called, languages to learn, and I was able to find this from their French site, Hungarian with Ease. I ordered it, and it's quite good. The difference between Asimil and Teach Yourself is that Asimil don't talk. I don't think the speakers talk as fast. They definitely, the dialogues are shorter and a lot slower, and they have usually about 2 or 3 speakers on it, which is great. So it's got more than Pimsleur, but maybe not as much as Teach Yourself. You could definitely go far with Asimil, though. You could learn a lot of the language with Asimil and with Teach Yourself. So, and at the moment, I'm trying to use them together. So what I'll do is, and I spend a lot of time on each dialogue. So I'll look at, say, at the moment I'm looking at a dialogue from here, which I'm listening to every day. I'm trying to do that. And if I get stuck or I get bored of that particular dialogue, I go and look at the Teach Yourself one, as the Teach Yourself ones are a little bit more in depth. So what you do is, there may be some really relevant stuff in here that you don't want to learn. It's not relevant for you in the beginning. So you skip through that. Find out a dialogue that you're interested in, a vocab that you think is useful. Work through that, and then go through the Teach Yourself book. Again, same thing. There's a lot of things that I don't want to learn from here. In the order that they present it, I want to learn in the order that I want. So I go in here and find a dialogue that interests me. For example, I think there was a dialogue in here I just found last week, and I haven't started it yet. Talking about describing family and describing people's looks and hair color and all that kind of thing, and talking about people's religion and whatever, lifestyle, whatever. So I thought that was quite a good dialogue, so I'm going to look at that this week, I think, and I'm going to go back to the Asimil. So I like to listen to the Asimil, then go and listen straight after to the Teach Yourself dialogue. I think it's a good way because the speakers speak very differently on these two, one slow, one fast, and you need to get used to different people talking, because people talk differently. Different accents, they might use different vocab, they might even be from a different part of the country. You need to be prepared for this. So that's what I'd recommend. I recommend a beginner, say in Hungarian or in any language, to purchase a Teach Yourself, an Asimil and a Pimsleur. So 2 or 3, try to work from 2 or 3 resources if possible, as one might be a bit too hard for you and others might be too easy. So try and find what works for you, and learn to use the book correctly. What works for you. For example, in chapter 1 or chapter 2, yeah, you learn the dialogues, you learn the vocab for that. That's fine. You get to chapter 3 or 4, and the dialogues aren't relevant to what you want to learn, or they're not interesting, or whatever. Like talking about border controls or that sort of thing, which aren't really important anymore in Europe. Doesn't really exist, or talking about going to the bank and talking about an old currency and stuff like that. That's not really important, so you can skip through that. Find a dialogue that interests you, like something practical in a restaurant, or describing your family members, or talking about the weather. That's good stuff. Get used to that, and then after that you might like to go back to the harder dialogues. Yeah, so you can do that. So, Teach Yourself Hungarian, thumbs up, but maybe use it with something else because it's very in-depth. Asimil, good. I like. Well, here we go. I can't even put it up properly. Asimil is good. There we go. Much better. So Asimil Hungarian with ease. The speakers don't speak too quickly. You've got lots of good little dialogues. You've got passive learning, and I haven't got. I think they teach you how to reproduce the language too, which is good. It's both to understand and to speak, which is what you'll be doing in real life. So they're the ones for Hungarian. They're the only ones for Hungarian that I have. I don't use any grammar books, not in my early stages of learning anyway. I like to avoid that sort of thing and stick to natural learning, and just exposure. Learn grammar through context, learn vocab through context, and then later on, to brush up, I'll go and purchase myself a grammar book if I can find one, and a dictionary or something like that. Now teach yourself Romanian. Now I haven't actually got around to using Teach Yourself Romanian. There we go, that's what it looks like, there's the cover. Not properly, because I haven't actually started learning Romanian, and I don't know when I'll get around to that either. But I'll definitely try and use this book. I flicked through it. It looks okay. I think the book itself is good. The dialogues might not be as good as the book itself, but I think you could definitely use it. Probably get something else as well and use them together. So I think that one's okay. The Hungarian one's really good. And also, about a year or two ago, I was learning Finnish. I did it for about a year. I haven't spent any time on it lately. But it definitely, if I want to go back, I'll be going back to this book for sure. Teach Yourself Finnish. This is probably the best Teach Yourself I've ever used. Fantastic. Good layout, very good vocab, good dialogues. There's a couple of dialogues which you wouldn't need or aren't very useful, but generally speaking, very, very good. Good grammar in it. Not too, they don't overcomplicate the grammar. Good vocab. They even teach you a little bit of spoken Finnish, as spoken Finnish differs quite a bit from the written Finnish, so they teach you a bit of both. So yes, Teach Yourself Finnish, definitely the best Teach Yourself that I've used, and the Hungarian one's very good too. So that's the sort of thing, and I don't have any other. Oh yes, I do have another book for Finnish, but yeah, that's more sort of grammar and things like that. But yeah, these sorts of things, these are the good things to start with in the beginning. So probably number one, Teach Yourself. If the Teach Yourself's too complicated or whatever in the beginning, get yourself an Asimil or a Pimsleur and work through them together, and then play around, see what works for you in terms of good resources. So they're my favourite. Someone requested that I make a video on resources, and there we go. Let me know what you think. If there's anything else you want me to talk about, I'd be glad to do so. Thanks very much, and see you in the next video.